Hello guys, yesterday we got our LEDs installed in our cab. We got the little tail piece printed here and the LEDs installed in that, and we came up with a little plan here where we were going to put the electronics. So today what I'm going to try and do is tie everything together, see if it's actually going to work. The first thing we need to do is check out this steering and see if we can get a little servo into this little enclosure. So for those of you who don't know, a basic toy car steering, what you usually get in all your cheap RC cars that don't have proportional control, is just a little motor that will stall when the steering goes to full lock. So when it reaches the physical limit, the motor will stall, and that's because the gearbox is very, very small. You're not getting much leverage from your gear train, so it'll be able to push it over. But then when you take off the power, the gear train is so weak, we'll say, that a little spring is able to push it back again. So there's enough leverage in the mechanism of the steering to actually just push it back. So all it is a little motor, and nothing complicated. We just give the motor power to turn one direction. If I can get the connection, there we go. So give it a bit of power, turn one direction, let it off, it goes straight ahead again, and if we put it in again the other way around, we get the other way of steering. So that is how basic it is, and I'll open it up now and I'll just show you the little spring. So you can see the system is very simple here. We have our motor, goes through two gears to our little steering rack, and all that is there to pull it back is this little spring in here. You can see it in there, and possibly I'll be able to turn this without the whole thing falling to bits. You can see the little mechanism, there's the spring returning back to the center position. And that's all there is to it. It's very simple, but we've no proportional control, so that's why I'm going to replace this little system with a servo, and that should make our vehicle much easier to corner, because with this type of thing we're going to be doing a lot of reversing, so we'd want it to be fairly accurate, especially for reversing with a trailer. Looks like by a stroke of luck our servo and our motor are pretty much the same size. The servo is a little bit wider, but I think if we lose the tabs here we should be able to fit it into the gearbox without any issue, so this might actually going to be a very easy fix. Okay, well, I got the servo in by cutting off the little mounting little tabs that are on the side of the servos, and that let me get it in. I had to cut a few little pieces off the lid of this kind of gearbox housing or whatever you'd call it. So I had to cut a little bit off that to get the back on. That was okay. Then I just got a little paper clip and straightened it up to give me a little connecting rod here between the steering rack that was in the model and our new servo. And just to make sure that the little bar stayed down on top of the pin, I just put a screw through this side, so that just holds it down, and as you can see we're able to get our steering. So that was pretty simple, quite happy with that. It didn't take too long, that's also a plus. So let's put it back together and see that it definitely works, because I haven't actually assembled it yet to test it. I have it all back together now. I needed to take a little piece off the top here so that the servo arm could stick out a little piece. You might be able to see it there, it's just about sticking out there, so I had to cut off a little flap that was there, and that's pretty much it now. It's about as good as it's going to be, I think. Didn't take a lot to do it, so I'm quite happy with that result. It was quick and easy, so that's kind of what you want on a simple build like this. I mean, the model is never going to be high quality, so anything that saves you a bit of time is always good. Okay guys, many hours have passed since the last scene in this video, but I'm finally to the stage where I'm pretty much ready to install the little control board. I've all the wires tidied up here. I left a positive and a negative wire at the back here for hooking up a trailer, and also signal wire so we can control the trailer. I've also left the positive of the little speaker that's under the bonnet here, so we can put a little tone. Maybe I'll just do a horn or something, but maybe I'll look at some of the engine sound libraries. It just depends on what kind of time I have or what I kind of feel like doing, but for the most part I think we're ready to go here. All the LEDs are wired up, they've all got the resistors, everything should just just wire straight to the control board now, so don't think there's going to be anything too complicated from now on. Okay, well, I finally got it all together. As you can see, I made a couple of mistakes there. Managed to melt part of the air tanks there, maybe they're the fuel tanks. I imagine they're the fuel tanks. But what actually happened was I managed to put a solder bridge across 3 of the pins on the Atmega chip, and in my efforts to remove the solder bridge, I hit the plastic with the soldering iron. So I wouldn't mind, it was going brilliant. I wired the whole thing in about 5 minutes, the whole every wire to the board once we were ready. Like it took a long time getting the wires through the model, but once it came to wiring it to the board, that only took about 5 minutes. And then on the last wire I made the blunder and put the solder across the pins and spent like an hour trying to fix that. So these things can happen, just screw up your little plans, but anyway, that's the way it goes. We're all together now, everything's wired up, so let's bring it to the diorama and test it out there properly. Okay, so we are back in the attic with the diorama here. The last time we tried this, it just kind of went crazy all over the place. We had no control. So let's see what the upgraded model can do. So I've dropped it into low gear here on the controller, so it should be pretty easy to control here. So steering is still not great. I think we need to put some weight over the front wheels. I think that's what's the problem there really. As well as that, the length of the model probably doesn't help. We're still overshooting on the corners, but it is much better, I think. If you go flat out, it's pretty hard to control them. We'll try doing the road in reverse, see. So it's not as manoeuvrable as our Seeker models, but at the same time it seems to be working pretty fine as far as I can see. I mean, I'm quite happy with it. I think if we put weight over the front wheels, it'll steer a lot better. We do have our slow speed control at least, so that's a bit of an improvement over the original anyway. Okay, well, let's check out the lights. Obviously the green lights on the top, they don't turn off, so let's put on our headlights, our dipped headlights. That's our dipped headlights. Full beams and back to dips. So I think that isn't too bad. We have our indicator, left indicator, right indicator, hazards. That's pretty good. And just to show you the tail lights, that's our headlights and our dip, so no difference on the tail lights when you have them dipped. And our 2 indicators work as well. The reversing lights, I didn't have the code for them, so I'm not sure why I didn't have that code, because I'm pretty sure I did it on the Subaru, but I couldn't find where in the code it was. So I'm going to have to try and figure out the way to do it. I don't think it's too hard. You just test if the drive value is below 125 or above 125 or something like that, and then turn on the reverse lights, something simple like that. So that's our Peterbilt truck. I think it turned out pretty well. It's a fairly cheap model to start with, and the plastic model still is fairly cheap. We need to do something with the steering, I think, and I need to finish off the bed. But other than that, I think it's looking pretty good. I think the decision to put the lights on the top was a good idea. The 1000 ohm resistor kept the current low, that was also good. It's not too bright, and I think our 6 lights on the front look really good. Yeah, all in all, I think this was a pretty good build. It's over the space of a weekend, just a couple of days. A fair bit of hours into it, I suppose, but I think the end result is pretty good considering we started with such a cheap model. So if you like that build, make sure and hit the thumbs up, and if you have any comments or suggestions, let me know below the video. And I think that's pretty much everything, so thanks very much for watching.